So opposite of you, I am a morning person. I get up at 2:30. I haven't always got up at 2:30. Before I started my business, I used to work out after work. But then once I really got into the groove of it and started doing trials don't end at 5 o'clock.
Welcome to the Side-HustlHER podcast, the podcast for women building their dreams while balancing work, family, and all the things. I'm your host, Carli LeBlanc, a wife, mom, marketer, and your side hustling friend here to teach you how to grow a brand that works for you and not the other way around. Whether you're a side hustling pro or just starting out, this is your safe place for real talk, actionable strategies, and the encouragement you need to keep going. We're here to help you make progress and not perfection. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's build your dream one step at a time. Hello, and welcome back to the Side-HustlHER podcast. I'm your host, Carli, and I am so excited to have you here today because today's episode is all about productivity, time management, and how to juggle all the things without feeling completely overwhelmed. And to help us break it all down, I've got a powerhouse guest joining me today, Coach Lee, who is not only a productivity and accountability coach, but she's also a full-time criminal defense attorney. So she knows a thing or two about balancing a demanding career while building a thriving business. Coach Lee is the founder of Legal Lee, where she helps driven corporate women stop feeling trapped by their schedules and start reclaiming their time so they can be successful at work without sacrificing their personal lives. Coach Lee is all about helping you find the hidden time in your day, setting boundaries, and creating your personalized success formula so you can get things done without feeling burnt out. And trust me, if you've been feeling like there's never enough time in the day, then this episode is just for you. So in today's episode, you're going to learn how to uncover hidden time in your day to work on your goals, your business, or whatever it is that you have on your to-do list, the biggest time wasting habits that are holding you back, how to set boundaries and build a schedule that actually works for you, why productivity isn't about just doing more, but about being intentional with the time that you have, and how to stay consistent and disciplined without running yourself into the ground. And listen, Coach Lee wakes up at 2:30 a.m. to get her day started. So I already know that she knows exactly how to structure her time and get the most out of her business and her personal life without feeling drained. So if you are struggling with balancing your 9 to 5, your side hustle, and your personal life, you are going to want to grab your notebook because this episode is packed with gems. Let's get into it. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to tell you about a free resource I created just for you. Have you ever found yourself stuck on what to post or struggling to stay consistent on social media? I've been there, and that's exactly why I created this free guide called 30 Days of Done-For-You Social Media Prompts for Personal Brands. This guide is loaded with prompts to get your gears turning so you can have a gallery of content to create for your brand and never stress about what to post again. And you can grab it right now at cdcreativecoagency.com/content and start creating content that connects without the stress. Welcome to the Side-HustlHER podcast, Coach Lee. How are you?
I am doing great. How are you?
I'm doing so amazing. So I am so excited to have you on here. And I wanted to go ahead and tell our audience that we actually connected on Threads. Threads is something that I've been trying to get people on because I've been telling people that if you ever struggle with finding people in your industry or just wanted to connect with people that are similar to you, use Threads as a resource to be able to network. So I just wanted to put a shameless plug in that Threads is actually lit over there and the algorithm is algorithming, okay?
Yes, it really has. Like, I don't know, when I got on it, when it first came out, it wasn't doing its thing, but 2025, it's been popping.
But yeah, so welcome to the Side-HustlHER podcast, Coach Lee. I'm so excited to have you here because we are going to be talking about all things productivity. And I am so excited because not only is Coach Lee a productivity coach, but she's also an attorney. So she is a part of the side hustling community. And I am so excited because not only will you be able to give us tips because you're good at productivity, but these are also tips that you're actually able to implement in your day-to-day life right now as an attorney and as an entrepreneur. So take us back to where you first began. your entrepreneurship journey. What was that like? Where were you at? What made you decide to start a business? Take us all the way back from the beginning.
I never set out to be a coach. I never set out to start this coaching business. In all honesty, like I still love what I do as an attorney. I always like I'm gonna open my own law firm. That didn't happen, but the pandemic happened. People
Mhm.
have been telling me for years, like you're motivating, you're encouraging, you should be a life coach, you should be a coach. Because at the time I was doing health coaching,
Mhm.
but I was motivating them more so than just eat healthy, meal prep, all the things. And I'm like, who got time for that? Nobody got time for that. Pandemic.
Yeah.
Pandemic happened. But it's funny because we were still in March. Like we made it like a week and a half into the pandemic. And I'm like, I've worked out, I've gone for walks, I've done all the puzzles, I've read all the books, I'm watching all the TV shows. I need something else to occupy my time.
Yeah.
All the thoughts started coming back to me of you should be a coach. And so I started like Googling like life coaching
Mhm.
certification. Made it happen to the first video, which was all of 5 minutes. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, I see what they say. I see what they say. And the attorney in me is like, if you're going to do something, you're going to do it right, i.e.,
Yeah.
coaching certification, LLC. Let's make it all legal and official. So, started doing the coaching training, built out the website, reached out to a couple of friends like, hey, I'm interested in doing this. I know we've talked in the past, not per se about coaching, but you come to me for advice. Basically, can you be a beta client? Tell me what you like, what you don't like. How can I tweak this? But then in filing the LLC, I set it to make it official January 1st of 2021.
I love that. And typically that's how that works for a lot of people that are starting like new businesses and new side hustles. You take on a couple beta clients and you kind of like reframe your offer as you decide to take on more and more clients. But when you first start, like before, and that's something that I typically did, like I tell people all the time, like COVID was kind of like a blessing and a curse for me because I was on this path of going to school to become a physician. And I had just graduated from undergrad and then COVID hit and I'm like, I'm dare not go to school while COVID is happening, where all this online schools, I'm not taking all these biology and chemistry and biochemistry classes online. Like, absolutely not. So during COVID, that was when my life just kind of like was on pause, but not really because I ended up getting married, having my kid, all of these things. So
Congratulations.
and so I was like, okay, once I turn back normal, I'm gonna go to school. And God was just like, yeah, no, you're not going to school. You're actually gonna be an entrepreneur. And I'm like, wait, I had no desire of being an entrepreneur, but I ended up finding myself into entrepreneurship because I was actually serving in my church and taking photos and content for my church to market our church online. But it's just so crazy how COVID was just a pivotal moment for a lot of people's businesses and birthing businesses. Like I meet people all the time that are like, yeah, COVID hit, I started a business. And the fact that there's so many businesses that were birthed during COVID, but then that are still thriving even after COVID is absolutely amazing because entrepreneurship is not for the weak. Okay. So I wanted to talk about what inspired you specifically to go into productivity because that's a super niche type of business. Like, why productivity?
So people used to always be like, how do you do it all? Like, how are you an attorney? Before the pandemic, I used to officiate basketball. So like I was working out, going to work, after work, out during basketball season, I would basically leave work, be either changing while I'm driving and eating dinner, or like bringing my clothes into work, changing into like my referee uniform because I would officiate basketball. And like every day after work, I'm going to one of 3 counties to officiate basketball, go home, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, do it again.
That
And
is
they're like,
crazy.
how are you so structured? How are you doing all these things? Why do you have so much energy? Because like I don't drink coffee. They're
Wait a
like,
minute.
what are you doing? Like, how are you doing this? And so it's just like I plan it out. Like, like I just do. Like, what do you mean? Like, how am I doing this? Like, I know where I have to be. I know what. Like, I reverse engineer. And so at that point, it was like, oh, people struggle with planning. They don't. They don't realize that they can do all these things. That it's not like I'm not about the hustle on the grind. I'm not anti
Mhm.
hard work, but I'm not trying to like burn myself out, sleep when I'm dead, like none of that. And so it was like, oh, people don't know how to like plan out their day and plan out
Yeah.
their life and get things done.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's really good because especially when you have like all of these things that you're doing, like you said, you have this job, you have your job, then you're refereeing, and then you have your business. Like you're doing a lot of things in one day. And I look at myself and I'm like, okay, how can I maximize the most of my time? Because first, I'm not a morning person. I would rather stay up late at night, but at the same time, like I can't stay up too late because I got my job to clock into early at 8 a.m. So it's like, how in the world are you able to get so much done in a 24-hour period? Like, are you sleeping for an entire 8 hours?
No.
Okay.
But I don't I don't feel that I need 8 hours of sleep. So opposite of
Okay.
you, I am a morning person.
Okay.
Don't yell, don't pass out when I say this. I get up at 2:30. I
To
haven't
wait a
always gotten up at
minute.
2:30. I haven't always got up at 2:30. Before I started my business, I used to get up at so when I first started as an attorney, so 10 plus years ago, I used to work out after work. But then
Mhm.
once I really got into the groove of it and started doing trials, trials don't end at 5 o'clock. So I'm like, how am I going to still be able to work out when I'm in
Yeah.
trial? So then I flipped my workout to the morning. So I started waking up at like 5 ish to go to the gym. Then I moved to like home workouts. But then once I started the business, it was like, okay, I know that I'm a morning person. If I only have so many hours in the day and my coaching has to happen after work hours, working out can't happen then. The back end stuff for the business can't happen then. And I ended up waking up at 2:30 on accident. One of my
Mm.
friends' church was doing like a prayer line or something, and I think the prayer line either started at like 2:30 or 2:45. So for that week, I was waking up literally like 5 minutes before the prayer call because they just had to call in. And then I had been praying like, Lord, where am I find this time at? And so after that week, I was like, because at that point I was waking up at 4:30. 2:30 didn't feel that different than 4:30. I know it sounds real different, but it didn't feel different when I woke up.
Mm-mm.
So that's how I started waking up at 2:30. But I go to bed at like 8:30. So I get like 6-ish hours of sleep. But
Okay.
I don't feel tired. Like I said, I don't drink coffee. So like
Yeah.
this is all natural energy. Yeah, we working with here.
That is crazy. I'm like literally when I wake up in the morning, I'm like waiting for my coffee. I can't start my day until I start with my coffee. Cause I'm going to bed at 2 a.m. So
I know, Seven. Finally, I've been seeing some of your stories. And I'm like, oh, she going to bed. I'm just getting up. Go ahead, girl.
that is so funny. So, most people that are listening to this episode are side hustling entrepreneurs. Most of them are moms and have, several people that they're responsible for throughout the day. And so, whenever you're starting a business, typically the first thing we think about is how are we going to have time to be able to build this business? So, what are some strategies or some secrets that you know of that can help us to find pockets of time in our day?
Number one, if you working full time, you got a lunch break, right? I work my business on my lunch break.
Mhm. Mhm.
So use your
Absolutely.
lunch break for your business.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then outside of that, understanding, like I said, I'm a morning person, you're a night owl. Understanding when you work best so that
Mhm.
you can kind of put your important tasks within those pockets of time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I get, if you work and you work full time, you can't potentially like, well, 11 o'clock is the best time that I work. If you clock into the people's job, you probably can't
Mhm.
work at 11 a.m.
Yeah.
But if you know that you're a morning person or a night owl, how can you best accommodate that? There are things that we need to do for business, like the personal development aspect. On your
Mhm.
drive to or for work, you can listen to like an audiobook, a podcast. So when I say I'm all about like finding the hidden time of the day, it's like, what are you already doing that we can add something else to? And
Yeah.
because you play these different roles in life, like, are there doctor's appointments you need to be making? While you sitting in
Mhm.
that car for that hour, or like my commute is basically an hour with traffic,
Yeah.
while you're sitting in the car for that time, who can you be calling, whether that be for business, for personal, like what appointments can you be making? Oh, you need to go grocery shopping. Well, you pass the grocery store every day on the way home. Can you do your grocery shopping on the way home, whether that be scheduling it for pickup or physically going into the grocery store?
Mhm.
What can we do to maximize the time that we already have? Like, why would I leave my house on a Saturday when I have nowhere to go just to go grocery shopping when I literally pass the grocery store Monday through Friday coming home?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when I talk about finding pockets of time, that's really what it is. Like, what are the things that you're already doing and what are the things that you need to do and how can they fit in and within that?
Yeah. I love that you mentioned that because I think that just recently I was taking inventory of my time and I was trying to figure out like how in the world am I going to get like workouts in and how am I going to get like my sun time in. And one thing that really has helped me is like time blocking and really having like a schedule of, knowing that, okay, on this day at this time, I know that I'm going to do this and figuring out ways to budget your time, right? So when you think of your time as like a bank account or a
Yes.
pie chart, so we already know that when you are working a full-time job, I mean, of course, whether you're working 8 hours a day or however many hours a day, then most of your time is going to be allotted to your full-time job. Okay. So that is time that's already accounted for. But then, like you were saying, with your lunch breaks, you get an hour a break a day or wherever you are. I just say an hour because that's what works for most people that are working full time. But for an hour, like that's typically when I schedule like my admin things, like things that I can easily knock out in my power hours. So if that's like a coffee chat with someone, or if that's like me checking emails and responding to emails, those little tedious tasks that add up after, over time, you can find that little power hour to knock those things out. And of course, you have like your family time and all the other things, but using a time blocking schedule has allowed me to be more productive and get more things done with the time that I have. So just like you were saying, you only need 6 hours to sleep. I feel like over time I've become this 6 hour type of chick. Not because I want to, but because I just kind of like fell
You
into
got a
it.
baby, what, a toddler.
Like I just fell into it. So I can go to bed at 2 a.m. and then wake up at 7 or 8 a.m. ready for me to go to work and then, take my kids to school and do all the things and get everything done. But I think also a lot of people typically try to make themselves a morning person because they see so and so as a morning person, but then not realizing like that's not how your biology works, for you. And so I think that being able to identify those pockets of time, like you said, whether you're driving past the grocery store and you have to go to the grocery store to go get your groceries, or even saving time by ordering groceries. Like if you got to go grocery shopping on Wednesday or Thursday or whatever day, schedule your grocery pickup. But then also, one thing I want to hit on is asking people for help. Because
Yes.
that is one thing that we as entrepreneurs don't tend to tap into because we feel like we have to do everything on our own. But asking for help and being open to asking people to help you out with certain tasks is another way for you to open up time in your schedule.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's not even just entrepreneurs. I think women, especially, we feel like we have to do it all. Whether you have all these roles that you play, like mom, wife, even if you're just an employee, and when I say just an employee, I'm not saying that to downplay. Like, even if you're just an employee, you still feel like you have to do all these other things. Like, I
Yeah.
don't have kids, I don't have a husband, but I still feel like I'm the one that got to do all the things.
Yeah.
And I mean, in some sense, to take care of my household, I am. But we feel like we have to do all the things, but sometimes we're saying yes to things, that we're putting things on our plate that aren't our responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. 1,000%.
We're
Guilty.
naturally nurturers, so we feel like we need to nurture everybody. Like even at work, we like, I'll do that, I'll do that. Why? Why let
Yeah.
somebody else do it?
Yeah. Get somebody else to do it.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that. So I want to talk about your most top productivity tips that you would recommend for women that are juggling corporate jobs, businesses, and a personal life. What are some of your top, let's say your top 3 productivity tips that people should incorporate in their everyday life when they're balancing all of the 3?
Brain dump, to-do list, use your calendar.
Let's
Brain dumping.
elaborate on that.
Okay. So brain dumping is something that you don't necessarily have to do every day. Like I do a brain dump once a week. If you're
Okay.
not somebody who's been into brain dumping, you might have to do it daily to get it out your head. But ultimately the idea is take everything that's in your head. Work, business, personal, miscellaneous. If it's in your head, put it on paper. I'm a pen to paper person, but if you're a digital person, type it in your phone. Voice note it won't work for this because you need to be able to see it. So if it's a voice note, it needs to be transcribing what you're saying as opposed to like something that you listen back to.
Yeah.
Because ultimately the idea is you're taking everything that's in your head that you're thinking of, whether that's something
Mhm.
you need to do today, tomorrow, next week, next month, 6 months from now. If you're thinking about it, write it down. And
Mhm.
then from there, you're going to turn that into a to-do list. So the reason I say we're doing it weekly is because when you're scheduling for your upcoming week, you're taking that brain dump and saying, what on this list needs to happen in the next 7 days?
Mm.
Like if you're saying, I need to go grocery shopping because the baby out of Pampers. We got enough Pampers to get through the next 3 days. We know we got to go get those.
Yeah.
If you're saying, like, I need to go grocery shopping, this bill is due, I need to go get the tag registration from my car, like whatever it might be. If there are things that are on that list that are time sensitive that have to happen in the next 7 days, you need to be putting that on your to-do list for the upcoming week. So me
Mhm.
personally, I do my brain dump on Saturdays because I'm a Sunday starts a new week person. I know some people are like Monday and some people who have different schedules go like, Wednesday or whatever their 7 day of the week schedule is. But I do my brain dump on Saturday so that I can then plan for the week. And so in making that to-do list, using the calendar comes into play because though our weeks are generally the same, our days aren't necessarily specifically the same. Like we might have the
Mhm.
same, we work every day, we got church on these days, these standing appointments,
Yeah.
but what specifically that might look like. So for example, if I'm in trial, so next week I'm starting a trial. Though my week is the same, I don't know trial might not end at 5, so I might be there later. So when I'm thinking about what I'm putting on my to-do list, I'm taking into account my capacity. Have like if you're
Mm.
off work, you got some off days, you got more time to potentially get stuff done. If you're in a deadline for work, or you traveling for work, or even traveling for vacation, your capacity is different, so you're not going to be able to schedule each and every week the same because of that. So
Mhm.
doing your brain up every week, turning that into your to-do list, but as you're making your to-do list, checking that against your calendar, because please tell me y'all got a calendar, because we too grown to not have some kind of calendar to tell us what we need to be doing every given day.
I love that. I love that. No, I feel like at this big grown age, we
Please.
definitely we definitely need a calendar. I mean, if you can remember things, kudos to you, but I thrive. Honestly, like I cannot live without my calendar. And I know that sounds crazy, but I can't. Like
I agree. Like,
I
even when I
can't.
remember stuff, I need the reminder to go off to remind me that I know it. Like, I know
Yeah.
I have a podcast recording. I know I have to be to court, but just as easily you get wrapped up on the phone, you get sucked into work, and you like, oh Lord, I
Yeah.
need to do this thing now. But when you got them 10-minute reminders going off, it's gonna get you where you need to go.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. That just makes me feel so good. You just mentioned capacity, and that word just like stuck with me. So, I guess my question is when you talk about capacity and looking at your week and figuring out, on this week I have a lot going on this week I don't have as much going on. Like, break that down on a deeper level to where someone can understand like what you mean by scheduling certain tasks for certain weeks when you know that you have a higher capacity or a lower capacity than normal.
So when we think about capacity, long story short, capacity is like your ability to do. Like we were talking
Mhm.
about, like you're typically a night person, I'm a morning person. So that goes to your energy. That's part of your capacity.
Mhm.
If I'm in trial, I know that I'm thinking more than I do on a normal basis, because I've got to
Mhm.
catch objections. I'm on all day, as opposed to, like, when you're at work, you're on because you're at work, but you're not like in a meeting, in a this, like you're not focused,
Yeah.
using as much of your brain power. So I'm not going to be trying to do as much heavy thinking activities when I'm already in trial, because my brain is going to be donezo from trial.
Yeah.
When we think about capacity, we're thinking about, like, what is your mental load? What is your
Mhm.
emotional load? Like, if you're on vacation, do you really want to be trying to plan all these other things when you're like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm gonna be on vacation Sunday through Wednesday. Now I got 3 days left in the week. I'm gonna add all these things in there. No, realistically, we know when we come back from vacation, they already be saying you need a vacation from your vacation.
Yeah.
So really, what kind of capacity are you gonna have coming off vacation to get something done?
Mhm.
If you're traveling, if you have a job to where you commute, or you travel, or whatever the case may be. So when we're looking at capacity, we're looking at what literally is on my schedule.
Mhm.
How much time do these things take? Because we have the perceived time in terms of it's on my calendar for this amount of time, but is there prep time? Is there wound down time? Like,
Yeah.
is this a meeting that, like, oh, I'm going to meet with the people that I know I don't like?
Yeah.
So what is that going to do to my emotional load, to where afterwards, am I really going to want to go work on this creative project? Even if it's something that I like, am I going to be sitting there upset because I just got off of this call? So
Yeah.
when we look at capacity, we're taking into account, like, the totality, like the big picture of what's really going on.
Yeah. No, that's really good because I think at the beginning, when I first started my business, I was trying to get so much done and I would schedule all of these meetings and discovery calls and have my availability open because I just want to, please everybody and I want everybody to have access to me. And then next thing you know, I'm getting like slammed with these calls back to back to back and no buffer time, no time to reset, no time to take notes, no time to organize my thoughts. And it really just made me become less productive because I was trying to please and do so much for other people when I wasn't really taking inventory of how I was feeling after these calls. Like, whether it's a call with a client or a call with a colleague, like, you need that window after, regardless, to just reset. Because sometimes, even if the meeting goes over and you don't have time to take notes and then you're jumping to the next text, next thing you know that you're forgetting things and things are getting left behind and you're on one thing but then the other thing. So it's just like, whenever you're first starting out, I would definitely recommend, if you have a service-based business or even an online business where you're always in meetings or you're having to schedule calls, give yourself a buffer always, just so
Yeah.
that you can recalibrate, because your brain will graciously thank you for that. And that's something that I wish I would have done, at the beginning. But now that I have, even with my podcast, like, I set limits on my weeks. Like, I cannot do more than 2 podcast recording in a week. I cannot. So I set that up on my calendar. My calendar understands my rules and my boundaries, and it works for me, because there's still other things that have to go on the back end that I
Right.
need to make sure I take care of before I move to my next task. So I love the whole capacity thing, because I think that that's one thing that a lot of people think at the beginning, like when you're first starting out and you're trying to get all of these clients, you just feel like you always have to be available. But also take inventory of how you feel after these things. Don't just feel like you have to just do it just because, you want the client or you want the deal. Like, anybody that wants to work with you will work with your time, will work with your availability. So just allow yourself to just, chill out a little bit.
Yeah. And I think you said boundaries, and boundaries is important too, because
Yeah.
capacity and boundaries can be, and they really are two different things. Like,
Yeah.
capacity is really more so about you. Boundaries is almost for the other people.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
reason that you put these boundaries into place is to respect and honor your own capacity, because we created these businesses because we wanted to be bosses and we wanted to be in control in some way.
Yeah.
So be in control. Like, yes, the
That's
thing
it.
with boundaries is you can break a boundary, but you need to be the one that break it, not the other person. So, for example, if you're
Absolutely.
saying like, okay, I only record 2 podcasts in a week, but if you're speaking to somebody and they're like, hey, I'm gonna be out of town for the next month, and you're like, okay, I'm making an exception intentionally so that I can get this thing done.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm gonna record later than normal because this is the time, like, we're working with different times or whatever the case may be. But you know your boundary and you honor your boundaries by understanding your capacity,
Yes.
especially in any given week. Like, if you're like, hey, I'm gonna break the rule, but I can't break it this week. Can we do it next week because of everything else that's already happening?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Y'all already know I'm all about working smarter and not harder, especially when it comes to marketing your brand. And if you're still relying only on social media to reach your audience, we need to fix that immediately. Social media is cute, but let's be real, the algorithm is unpredictable, and your content is probably only reaching a small percentage of your followers. That's why I swear by email marketing, because when I send an email, I know 100% of my subscribers are getting my messages. And the best part, Flowdesk makes it ridiculously easy. You can send beautiful on-brand emails, automate your sequences, and even create landing pages without needing to be tech savvy. And because you're listening, I got you a deal. Use my code Side-HustlHER at checkout and you'll get 50% off your Flowdesk subscription for the next 12 months. So if you're ready to stop relying on algorithms and start building an email list that actually converts, try Flowdesk for free. And don't forget to use the code Side-HustlHER at checkout for that exclusive 50% off. And I think that that is so important, so important, especially when you're starting off. Like, start having those boundaries now, because your future self will thank you for having those rules in place for sure. So I want to talk about things that we waste our time on, because we can't talk about being productive without talking about the things that we commonly waste our time on. So what are some common time wasting habits that entrepreneurs and professionals should eliminate?
You mean besides like scrolling social media and binge watching like TV shows and stuff like that?
Guilty, 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 guilty.
And I'm not saying that to say that you can't watch TV, that you can't scroll social media. Like, if people follow me about stories, I'll be on the weekends. Sometimes I'll be like, okay, it's time for me to have my TV time. I scheduled 2 hours of TV time today, so it's time for me to do my TV time. Like, I watch TV. Like, I'll sit and me binging is like 2 episodes probably at a time. But like, I'll sit and I'll binge a show, but it's still scheduled. Like,
Yeah.
on my weekend time block, it'll say TV time. I'm like, I'm reading. This is my reading time. So we have time wasters, but we also need things to recalibrate ourselves, to transition and things like that. But social media, honestly, I would say one of the biggest time wasters is trying to figure out what to do.
That's real.
Like, yeah, we scroll social media. Yes, we, watch TV, but people know that. We know that we shouldn't be scrolling. We know that we look up and we like, hi, I've been here for an hour. We know that. But honestly, one of the biggest things that we waste a lot of time doing is figuring out, like, where is this thing that I need, or what should I do now, or what should I do next now that I finish that thing?
Yeah. 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 That's good. And I think that for me, for myself, I have gotten to a habit of even like having a top 3 like things that I want to get done for the day. And I feel like that does 2 things. One, that sets the intention for my day. So I know depending on what those 3 things are, is it high brain activity? Is it low brain activity? Am I going to need to get a whole 8 hours of sleep before I conquer that day? Or can I wing it on 6 hours? But then also, what it helps me to do is to see the finish line, because at the beginning, and I don't know if this is you, but this is also, a thing. Whenever you are starting off, and especially people that work full-time jobs, we're like, we have this long laundry list of to-do lists, and for some reason we think we got to get everything done in that day. And
Yeah.
then next thing you know, we're like staying up and we're like, oh, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. I got to get this done. And it's like a never ending to-do list. You should have a running to-do list, but then also like each day should have like 2 to maybe 3 tasks that you definitely get done in the day. Not having like 10 different items on the day, but being strategic about your to-do list, because you're going to run yourself crazy if you're trying to get 12 things done and you only have 4 hours to get it done in a day.
And those 12 things each take 2 hours apiece. So that's 24 hours right there for just the 12 things that you want to do.
Yes. So like be realistic. Be realistic.
Yes. I know you were talking about time blocking, as well as that priority list. I think both of those are important because that helps with your capacity. Because even when you're choosing your top 3 priority list, if possible, try not to make them all high brain function activity. Like if the day you got off work and you like, okay, I'm specifically taking this time because I'm off work and I'm knocking out these high brain activities. But on a day that you're working or you're doing other things, you might not want to have 3 high brain activities because capacity.
That's good. That's good. Okay, Coach Lee. So tell us, because you waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you are an attorney.
This girl, give me my 30.
Help us understand how you prioritize self-care in the midst of your crazy, crazy schedule.
So part of the reason that I wake up at 2:30 is because of self-care. So like when I wake up at 2:30, I go through my morning routine, like read my devotional, read my pages of personal development, like do all of that. And then typically what I do is I get dressed, brush my teeth, all that stuff, get dressed, come out, pack my lunch for the day, and then I come into the office. And typically by then it's like 4:15, 4:30. I start my workout at 5:30. So that gives me about an hour to work on my business. So like do my personal development for my business, check emails, or if I need to prep stuff, like if I have a coaching call that night and I didn't finish prepping everything, prep that type of stuff. And then from there, I'm going into my workout. That's setting the tone. I'm saying it's setting the tone for the day, but I done been up at that point for 3 hours. But then I do my workout and then we're going to work. And then another thing that I do at work is I take a walk as well to reset, to decompress and clear out.
Yeah.
So for me, self-care is important, and self-care is a non-negotiable, and it's something that I plan. Like I meal prep on the weekends so that I don't have to think about food during the week.
Yeah.
The only thing I gotta think about is, do I want to eat this for lunch or dinner? Or, I want to mix up the vegetables and stuff that I already cooked and make a new combination. We're not thinking about food during the week, which is why I meal prep every Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really good, because I think also like having themes for your day is a really good thing. I know like for myself, one thing that works is have like my personal development days where I schedule like my coaching call with my business coach or my therapist, and I try to keep my brain activity items low on that day, because typically after therapy, nobody got time to be doing nothing.
Done.
But so you're basically saying that like your devotional time in the morning is like your self-care time. So you have essentially every single day time for self-care.
Yes. Yes. I know some people who do the theme days, but I found that it didn't work for me because of like if I'm in trial one week,
then
everything is all off. Like if it's a trial that lasts all week versus if it's a trial that lasts part of the week, or if it's a trial that lasts multiple weeks, that's gonna throw off everything else. So for me, it's easier to choose those top 3 priorities.
Yeah.
Or to understand, like if I'm in trial, like what's the number one thing I need to get done today? If I get other stuff done, we good. But for me, the theme days didn't work because of, yes, the days are the same, but the days aren't the same at the same time. I do have some things that are recurring, like my coaching calls, like a coaching program that I was in, or like I do some clubhouse rooms with one of my friends. Like we have days like that those things are scheduled on. So I do have those recurring things that happen every week or every other week at a specific date or time. Other than that, the non-negotiables that kind of occur for me during the day is getting my workout in, getting my walk in, and
Mhm.
doing something for my business. Like I
Yeah.
try to make it personal development and something else each day, but sometimes the personal development you like, I really like this, I'm gonna just keep going. Or sometimes you're like, I'm not really feeling the personal development because my computer decides it wants to update right now. And so I'm like, what can I do while the computer's updating so I'm still getting something done instead of sitting here looking at it update for 30 minutes?
Yes. That's funny.
Technology.
No, listen, technology, okay? Because I have been struggle bus with technology for the past 24 hours. Insane. But yes, I want to talk about systems that you have in your business that allow you to be productive. So a lot of people use like automations, they have CRM systems, Chat GPT, like different flow desk and all of those things. What are some systems that you use in your business that allow you to become more productive and get more things done whenever you're not actually in your business?
Me and Chatty, which is ChatGPT, we're friends. Like I have templates that I use for like if I'm brainstorming for content, for example. Like I plan my content for the month. Like I brainstorm like what I want this month to be about, like the theme for the month based off what
Yeah.
I'm promoting or whatever the case may be. So like each week I got like prompts that I go through with Chatty, and we kind of like come up with what we talking about this week, and then okay, now what videos do I need to record? What reels do I need to record? Things like that. So for me, mainly like I use Chatty. I use Asana to keep everything organized,
Mm,
and then pretty much making as many templates as I can. So like I have templates that I send for like when I'm onboarding a new client, but like
yeah.
I manually schedule those and I manually send those based off of them sending the document so I can plug and play,
Yeah.
with the words they say. But like I'll create a template that I'm like, make sure you cover like fill in these blanks based off of what they put in their coaching packet or whatever. But pretty much making templates so that I can copy paste as much as possible, and
Yes.
Google Drive. So like if
Yes.
I'm being that I use my lunch breaks at work to work on my business, if it's on Google Drive, it's the same as being at home on my computer.
Yes, yes, 1000%. 1000%. I love Google Drive. I have templates on templates on templates, okay? So, templates are definitely going to be the thing. And one thing that has been a game changer for me is definitely building out like workflows and things, with specifically with like email marketing. Like I have like different workflows. So, when someone comes on my website and they book a discovery call, they get this email, and then it happens to scoot over to a whole nother system. And so, I can be in the middle of a meeting at work, but in the midst of me being at the meeting, like my business is still functioning behind the scenes. And I think that that definitely takes off a lot of tasks. So it's not like, oh, make sure you send someone a checklist whenever you get off for work, or, those things they're small tasks, but they can eventually add up over time,
Yes.
especially depending on the volume of clients that you're seeing. So definitely building out a workflow has helped me tremendously in my business, because if somebody goes at 2 o'clock in the morning, I don't have to worry about if they got whatever it is that they need. I know for a fact that my workflow is working for me. So, what are the biggest mental barriers that hold women back from being productive?
Themselves. Their thoughts that I can't be productive, I can't get things done. The fact that you feel like you have to do it like I do, the fact that you think you have to do it like you do, the fact that you think that you have to do it like anybody else. You have to find what works for you, because the only way you're going to stick with anything in life, productivity or not, a meal plan, a workout plan, is finding what works for you. If it works for you, it will work for you, because you'll be
Mm,
willing to do the work and to show up, because consistency is what we have to have and build and create. Discipline comes from that consistency. You're not going
yeah.
to always be motivated.
Yeah.
I'm disciplined to work out. I'm disciplined to get up at this time. That doesn't mean I always want to do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
those times when I've been in trial and I don't get home till 8:30, 9 o'clock, I still do my very best to wake up at 2:30. Now, if I wake up and I'm like, look, not, but I still get up in enough time to get my workout in and things like that. My morning routine might be shortened, or the amount of time I have to work on the business might be shortened. But one thing that's going to happen before I go to work is that workout is going to be done.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So being willing to find what it is that works for you, adjust and tweak. What worked for you in one season might not work for you in another season. Like
Yeah.
time blocking is something that I was doing a lot on the weekends, because I had the whole 24 hours, okay, not literally 24 hours, but I had the whole day to work on business, life, and all the things, versus Monday through Friday when I'm working. But then I realized that I can bring this time blocking in to during the week, like what tasks do I want to do before work? What are my lunchtime tasks? What are my after work tasks? Like it's still time blocking. It's just not time blocking the whole day. I'm just thinking
Yeah.
morning, afternoon, and night. And so being willing to, again, find what works for you, adjust and tweak, slight tweaks over time as things adjust and in different seasons that you're in.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah,
love that you said that. I love that you said that because I think that yesterday I was listening to a podcast and she was kind of talking about something similar. And she was talking about how, like, before she was a mom, like she had all of this extra free time. But now that she has two kids, like she can't get the same amount of workout time in that she used to before. And I found myself like beating myself up because sometimes, like, I'm like, I can only go to the gym for 30 minutes. And sometimes I'm like, okay, I can easily, give myself 90 minutes, knock it out and feel good about myself. But one thing that I think is critical is understanding that your schedule is going to evolve over time because you're going to accept new different tasks, different responsibilities. You're going to find yourself offering new services and products in your offer suite over time that are going to pull you away from different things. You're going to be in a season where sometimes your family may not, like, even right now my husband travels for work, and so before, when I first started my business, that wasn't the reality, but now, like, that's a whole different season. So whenever he's away, my schedule alters. And when he's here, my schedule alters. But then, like, giving myself time. Like, if I know that my husband's going to be away from work and I'm the sole parent, I may not be able to get a 90-minute workout in. I may only got a smooth 20, 30 minutes, And so I think definitely giving yourself grace. Your
yes,
schedule is going to evolve, and eventually over time, you're going to see what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Don't feel the pressure like you have to do this, that, and the third because so and so does this, and so says, like, if in order to be a successful entrepreneur, I gotta wake up at 4 a.m. Like, no, do what works for you, what works for your responsibilities, your lifestyle, the way that you function, the way that you work, because that's how you're going to be able to be in it for the long run, not comparing yourself and your schedule and your calendar to the next person, but really just taking an inventory of who you are, what works for you, what works for your lifestyle, when do you need your breaks, when do you need your days to reset, and figuring out a whole different arrangement of how different mixtures, try different things,
exactly.
like, just try different. It doesn't hurt to try different things. I remember when I first started, I was working on Sundays. I easily found out working on Sundays is not my thing. Sundays, I just need to go to church and I just need to chill out, take a little church nap, and not have nothing to do that day because that's what helps me show up productively in the week. But if I'm sitting here listening to somebody talk about, sleep is for the week and sleep when you're dead and work 7 days a week, like, that
Right.
doesn't work for me in my lifestyle. So I think definitely, especially if you're starting off and you're trying to figure out how to, like, budget time in your schedule for your business and for your job and all of the things, just try different things and see what works for you. And don't feel like you always have to have it figured out. It's okay to not have it figured out.
Right. As a productivity and accountability coach, I'm still figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like I have things that work, but then I'm like, this might work a little bit better. Let
Mm-hmm.
me try it.
Mm-hmm.
Or something happened to where I did it one time, like the time blocking.
Yeah.
Why am I only doing this on the weekend? Let's try and see what that would look like to try it during the week.
Yeah.
I'm saying this shit works. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just being willing to adjust and adapt and not quit.
Yeah. That's a discipline piece that you talked about. It's so funny you said that because that's actually my word of the year. And I've committed myself to anytime I say I don't feel like doing something, I push myself to do it. And most of the time it has to do with me working out because I'm like, I don't feel like going to the gym today. Oh, I got to go to the gym today. But I love how you mentioned discipline because I think that that's the name of the game,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're balancing both job and business. Like, you have to be disciplined. You have to be disciplined to put the phone down. You got to be disciplined not to put your computer in front of the TV. You got to you got to be disciplined to do the things, get the things that need to be done, and then give yourself time to splurge and enjoy all of the luxuries of life afterwards. So
Exactly.
that's so good. Well, Coach Lee, before we go, I want you to take some time to give us a piece of advice that you would give a woman who feels like she does not have enough time to achieve her goals.
What are your goals? Like, what are your goals and why are your goals important to you? Because if you have
Mm.
a goal that's really important to you, i.e., the why behind it is important, you'll be disciplined enough to show up and do the work, even when
Mm-hmm.
it's hard. So set goals that are for you. Don't set goals for other people, because that's where we often are like, it's okay if I don't do this. It's okay if I don't do that. So get honest with yourself about what it is that you really want in
Yeah.
life, for this goal or whatever it. And once you're honest with yourself about what it is that you really want and why you want it, you'll be willing to show up and do the work. Showing up and doing the work, being consistent doesn't necessarily sometimes mean every day. Consistency can mean 3 times a week. Take some action on this. 4 times a week. 2 hours a week. So whatever, if that's 2 hours all in one day or 10 minutes every day to add up to 2 hours. Be consistent in whatever it is, but make sure you understand and define what consistency means to you in
Yep.
regards to that specific thing. And
Yep.
show up and do the thing.
Yep. That's it. That's it. Consistency is key, and finding consistency that works for you. And I tell my clients that all the time, even when it comes to like content creation. Like, just because you see somebody else posting 5 times a day, like if you can't be consistent at posting 5 times a day, don't do it. Or 5 times a week, rather. Don't do it. 2 times a week, if you commit to showing up 2 times a week, every single week, that's consistency. I mean, even if you show up 1 time a week, every week, that's still consistency. But so often we compare consistency to everybody else's consistency, and then we find ourselves burnt out because we're trying to take on the workload of somebody else. But getting down to the nitty gritty of your goals and your purpose and figuring out what that is going to help you to stay on track to your goals. I love that.
Yes.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Coach Lee, for joining us today on the Side Hustler podcast. This is so amazing. But before you go, I want you to share with us, where can we connect with you? And also, Coach Lee has some amazing offers for all of the people that are listening that made it thus far in the episode. So, Coach Lee, where can we connect with you?
I am at legally.me everywhere. LEGALLEE.me. So that's like website is www.legally.me, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Clubhouse. I think that's it. But basically everywhere I'm legally.me.
Yes. And tell us about your 20-minute productivity audit that you have right now for all of our listeners.
So a personalized productivity audit is basically for you to figure out where's either your biggest time suck, time waster, or your biggest productivity question. Like, if I can figure this out, what would that look like to change my life, to take actionable, practical steps? So like in that 20-minute call, we'll dive into and figure out basically what's your biggest question on productivity and what does that look like and how does it manifest itself in your life? And I will give you actionable and practical tips or tools that you can take to implement and go do the work, make changes in your life, or, learn more about working with me. But essentially it's about understanding what's the struggle, what's an actionable tip that you can take based off of that struggle and go do it.
Yes, that's amazing. You are so amazing. You're such an ambitious light. I don't see how you do it, but I am so glad that you do it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Side Hustler podcast. I hope you're leaving here today feeling inspired and ready to take your next step. If you love this episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another side hustler who needs to hear it. And don't forget to connect with us on Instagram at Carli Dorlin. I'd love to hear about your side hustling journey. Remember, you're doing better than you think, and your dreams are so worth it. Until next time, keep hustling, sis. You got this.